Why did Jimin suddenly submit to HYBE's unusual decision? Is this just a coincidence, or are there hidden forces forcing him to follow in Jungkook's footsteps to America? And what does that have to do with the attempted infiltration that nearly traumatized Jungkook for life? Jimin follows HYBE's orders without options. His involvement in Jungkook's US plan infuriates fans. What happens if someone who has been known for his meekness is actually pushed in a direction that does not reflect his personal choices at all? Why did Jimin's face seem stiff as the camera captured his expression backstage? And why is his departure time to America so close to Jungkook when both are rumored to have very different solo schedules? Is this just a coincidence, or is it an order from above that cannot be refused? These questions began to flood the hearts of the army after the emergence of a series of shocking portraits featuring Jimin at Incheon Airport, a few days after Jungkook was secretly recorded on a secret trip to the United States. But wait, didn't Jungkook himself recently ask fans to respect his privacy after a Saesing almost broke into his house? Why did HYBE actually make such a massive promotional move that it was like opening the door as wide as possible for similar disorders? Is there something we don't know behind these seemingly coordinated decisions? And more importantly, did Jimin actually agree to all of this? Or was he just forced to come along due to agency pressure? The public's eyes immediately fell on Jimin's stiff expression as he entered the check-in area of Incheon Airport. In a video circulating, Jimin is seen silent, looking down, and only a small nod as HYBE's staff directs his way.
No smiles. No waves.
And what is even more disturbing, there is no special greeting on the cameras of journalists as usual. Some fans are speculating. Something is wrong with the way he walks. One fan wrote on social media, Jimin was forced to be there. Look at his eyes. It wasn't the eyes of someone on a personal mission. And at that moment, the emotions of the fans literally exploded, not just out of concern for Jimin, but because the context behind his disappearance is too close to the sinister incident that befell Jungkook. As reported in an investigative article in the Pinnacle Gazette, someone barely made it into Jungkook's home, a terrifying act that shook many, especially after Jungkook emotionally expressed his frustration at repeated privacy violations. But if that's true, if HYBE is truly aware of the seriousness of this situation, why do they keep encouraging the two BTS members to appear in public spaces with a high level of visibility? This is where the red thread gets even more tangled. Many believe that Jungkook's departure to the US had a hidden purpose. Rumors are circulating that he is preparing a massive global release. Some unofficial sources even mention a secret collaboration with a top international producer. However, not a single official statement from HYBE has yet confirmed these details. Then came Jimin, not in the capacity of a solo artist who has his own agenda, but in the very near future and with an expression that invites Tanya. Is HYBE really combining them in a collaborative project, or is there something bigger and more sensitive going on behind the scenes? Not a few fans now feel betrayed. They felt the agency wasn't listening to their fears, especially after Jungkook pointed out that his security was on edge. Then why bring Jimin into the spotlight? When everything is still hot, controversial, and vulnerable, some fans even called this situation a sweetly packaged trap. They are convinced that what HYBE does is not in the interests of the artist, but rather in the pursuit of publicity, without considering the psychological consequences that can be experienced by the members. The anger of the fans was also aggravated by the technical facts on the field. According to the official website of Incheon Airport, the check-in procedure requires passengers to wait about 5 minutes after the process is completed for baggage inspection purposes. However, in that very short time gap, Jimin's photos spread quickly and precisely, as if there was already someone who was told in advance that he would appear there. The question now is, who informed Jimin's location and time of presence so accurately? Did HYBE intentionally let the moment leak as part of a subtle promotional strategy? Or have they lost control of their internal information and are now risking the safety of their artists? One thing is for sure, Jimin's reaction at that time was not the reaction of someone who enthusiastically welcomed a new opportunity. He looked overwhelmed, like he was holding something back. A burden that he could not express in front of the cameras, but enough to make the fans feel that something was wrong. Some say, silence is the language of unbearable pressure. Is Jimin trying to keep the team at peace by following directions he can't refuse? Or is he being a silent savior for the big plan Jungkook and HYBE are working on? What is clear, Jimin's silence only made speculation even wilder. And when an artist as popular as himself looks like he is losing control of his own agenda, the alarm goes off in the hearts of fans. Some even draw sharper conclusions. Jimin didn't leave voluntarily, one netizen wrote in a viral post. He looks like someone who has just been given two choices and both are bad. It's not about music, it's about control. The question now is, until when will HYBE be able to survive the pressure of public opinion that has begun to boil over, and will Jimin remain silent? Or could it be that he will one day reveal the truth that he has been keeping tight? One thing is undeniable. A trip to the USA this time is not just an ordinary trip. This is a spark of a much larger conflict, which all this time was hidden behind the majestic stage screen and smiles in front of the cameras. And when the public begins to read the cues of stiff faces, blank stares, and heavy steps, that's when they begin to question everything. Is this the beginning of the revival of the artist's voice, which has been silenced so far? Or is this just another chapter of a long drama full of manipulation and hidden pressure? The night after photos of Jimin's departure spread, social media seemed to explode. Hashtags such as hashtag protect Jimin, hashtag HYBE explain this, and hashtag not voluntary top trending in various countries, from South Korea to Brazil. The fans are not just expressing anger, they are demanding an explanation. Some even put together investigative threads showing BTS members' patterns of involvement in promotional activities that seem to be not a personal whim, but part of a larger narrative that HYBE was putting together, and that narrative is cracking, especially after a short video appeared that was recorded by an airport officer by accident. The video shows a HYBE staffer speaking in an urgent tone to Jimin, using words like "don't say anything now" and "we'll explain everything when we get there." Although the sound was not very clear because of the surrounding noise, Jimin's expression at that time was undeniable. He looked shaken. HYBE manipulating artists' personal agendas in the interests of their international strategy? And if so, what about the feelings of the artists who should be at the heart of all this? Jimin's involvement in Jungkook's US mission grew suspicious when reports surfaced that Jimin's schedule was not publicly announced as usual. In fact, the official accounts of HYBE and Bigot Music do not provide updates regarding his departure at all. In contrast to their habit of always sharing details, even if they are just stories or captions, HYBE's silence made everything even more noisy. A source from the music industry, who declined to be named, revealed that HYBE was indeed developing a collaborative global project after the release of Jungkook's album last year, which was a huge success. However, pressure from investors to maintain BTS's prestige during the enlistment of other members was the main reason behind this decision. They need familiar faces to stay on the global screen. And who can better calm the international market than a duo like Jungkook and Jimin? But even moral questions arise. Is it right to sacrifice personal well-being for the sake of keeping stock charts stable? Amid HYBE's silence, some fans who are also psychologists tried to analyze Jimin's body language. From the way he bowed his head, the way his hands trembled as he signed his departure documents, to the way he avoided eye contact, all of them signal distress or emotional distress. And it's not the first time. If you trace back to previous years, there were several moments where Jimin was seen showing signs of mental exhaustion, especially when the pressure of promotion was mounting. But at that time, he was still able to smile in front of the camera, greet fans, and wave his hand in return. Now, even just nodding feels like an uphill battle. Is this a sign that Jimin's patience has come to an end? Jungkook, meanwhile, has become the center of attention in an unfinished privacy scandal. After the attempted intrusion into his home, he posted a lengthy message on the Weverse platform, asking fans not to cross the line. The tone of the writing is clear, tired, sad, and pleading. But now, the management's decision to re-expose him in a big way actually makes his request feel like being ignored. And now, they're bringing Jimin into the same vortex. One fan wrote, "If Jungkook, who has asked for privacy, is still sacrificed for publication, then Jimin, who doesn't say anything, will be easier to take advantage of." The sentence spread widely, stuck in the minds of many ARMY who had believed that HYBE would always protect their artists.
But is tea.
3 days after Jimin's baffling departure, the fandom world began to sense that there was something much deeper than just a personal schedule. Even the big fan sites, who have been known to be loyal to the official policies of the agency, began to speak. One of Jimin's famous fan site among ARMY International, who usually only uploads positive and aesthetic photos, wrote something that made goosebumps. I saw it from afar, but his gaze was blank. Jimin, who used to smile while hiding the pain, now doesn't even try to hide it anymore. He just walked, and his steps were like someone who knew he had no choice. The upload instantly went viral. Thousands of comments flooded the post, and almost all of them pitched the same. We feel the same way. Some of the ARMY even started collecting snippets of videos from the last fan meeting, where Jimin was silent for a few seconds when asked about future plans. Usually, he will answer cheerfully, even exaggerating a little to make fans smile. But that time, he just smiled faintly and said, "We'll see. I still don't know either." And now, that sentence feels like an early warning. Did Jimin himself already know that he would be part of a big scenario that he never asked for? On the other hand, Jungkook, who is at the center of all this, has also not given any statement. His face caught on camera at the airport was also unusual. He looked nervous, constantly looking back, as if afraid that something was following him. This is no ordinary Jungkook. It wasn't Jungkook who danced freely on stage or who laughed during the interview. This is a wounded Jungkook, and he seems to know that the same will happen to Jimin if they don't talk soon. But can they? Or, more precisely, are they allowed? A former Korean entertainment reporter who has participated in BTS's overseas tours gave his opinion through a personal blog. He wrote that this situation reminded him of the early years of BTS, where the freedom of artists was very limited and everything had to go through a strict script from the management. BTS is big now, but the power structure of the Korean entertainment industry hasn't completely changed. There is a hierarchy. There are still sacrifices for the sake of the team, and sometimes the best artists are sacrificed the most. The statement resonated widely, especially among senior fans who have followed BTS's journey since the beginning. They know very well how Jimin, since his debut, has always been the most sensitive person to the other members' situation. She cried because she didn't feel good enough. He apologized for not being able to make the fans happy. And now he looks morose, just because he probably knows that his decisions are no longer his own. All this then leads to the big question. Is Jimin going through something that wasn't his own choice in order to keep someone or keep everything looking okay? Even some fans began to bring up the moment last year, when Jimin said in an interview that sometimes it's hard to tell which one I do because I wanna, and which one because I feel I have to. That sentence, which used to be considered an ordinary afterthought, now feels like a projection of this event. And while everyone was talking, HYBE remained silent. And oh, clarification.
No apologies.
No explanation. However, what hurts most for many fans is how the media began to package their departure as a hopeful moment and an incredible future project. Titles such as Jungkook and Jimin will electrify America or Global Secret Mission begins are scattered on the main page. But they forget, behind it all, there are two humans who may be undergoing psychological pressure that they cannot resist. One ARMY International wrote at length in an open letter. We don't need them to become global icons if that means sacrificing their freedom and sincerity. We love them for their honesty, not for their forced agendas. The letter was signed by thousands of fans from 60 countries and is in the process of being officially delivered to HYBE's office. Then came an incident that made everything even more astonishing. A person, allegedly airport staff, who leaked Jimin's departure information, revealed that the agency had secretly provided some media outlets with information about their artist's arrival schedule in exchange for content exclusivity. If this is true, then it means that HYBE not only neglected to protect artists, but actively paved the way for the spread of their locations. Does this mean Jimin and Jungkook were sacrificed for visibility? Is the agency more concerned with promotion than security? And most importantly, how did the other members react to seeing the two comrades slowly dragged into this vortex? Some fans speculated that the reason members like Taeil, RM, and Jin didn't show up much or comment was because they knew the